Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today's I'm taping this on the 31st of July, which is Maddie's birthday. It's my girlfriend's birthday, so we've been doing a lot of running around today. But it's the 1st of August, year of our Lord 2020-25. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motano. What's up? What's up, everybody? Hope you had a good week. Taping this on my girlfriend's birthday. Had a nice day. She has some family in town, so we went out to breakfast. Went to Wildberry, got some brunch. The problem is it's also Lollapalooza season right now, so all of the brunch girlies were also out, which is why, luckily, my brain is developed. I'm a 27-year-old man. I have a lot of wrinkles on my brain. It's one time I did a scan of my brain, and the doctor was like, we tried to do... They tried to like zoom in, like double pinch, with their fingers, zoom in on the CT scan of my brain. They couldn't find one smooth part of my brain. It was just riddled with wrinkles. Because they were like, wow, this is the smartest guy we've ever. I sound like Donald Trump right now. Remember when he hired that like hack doctor who did not look like, he looked like a porn doctor is what he looked like. He looked sort of like Ron Jeremy style. And he was like, I'm the healthiest president that there ever was. So where am I going with this? Well, I made reservations well in advance. So that way, by the time we got to the restaurant, all of these Lollapalooza girlies who were wearing their stupid, 2014, were still wearing the knee-high boots that are just Converse. Really? We're still doing that at Lollapalooza? Really? Oh, okay. Well, you guys didn't get a seat, and you had to wait an hour for a table. And luckily, me with my big wrinkled brain, I did not have to do that. Me and my party of 5 with a high chair, put a high chair in the special request just so that they knew that there was a child coming. And sure enough, they did accommodate because I made a reservation, because my brain is too big for my own damn head sometimes. Really, the Converse knee-highs, we're still doing that? If there's anything to suck your teeth at, it's that. Look, I'm never going to judge people's fashion that much, but we left that shit in 2014, bro. It's more than 10 years ago. Fucking grow up. 25-year-old woman wearing that shit. Grow up. What a hostile way to start the show. I'm actually in a fine mood today. Again, girlfriend's birthday. We're in a, things are fine today. And we're going to be doing sports today. Whoa, impressed. Now, if you've maybe taken a few weeks off of the show, in the summer, the listenership tends to dip because there's neither dick nor balls to talk about. And so we typically go in a bunch of different directions. I have a lot of sports stuff to talk about today because I had an idea, but we'll get to what the idea was in just a second. I could do 15 minutes on the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle stuff. I got a lot of material on that. Probably the most hostile week for emails here at the Coping Hour that we've ever had. My final tally as of this taping between this episode that I'm taping now and the previous one, 26 emails about the comments that I have made about about a certain advertising campaign happening. I don't know if we're going to talk about that at the end of the show. Use the timestamps to your advantage. Do we get around to it? Do I get in a bad enough mood that I circle back around to it? If it's not in the timestamps, then clearly this episode went really well. But if it goes poorly, I will lash out and I will start firing off some shit. But in the meantime, I had an idea like literally 30 minutes ago where I was like, what if I just spent the whole episode covering every single sport and just asking questions? Because that's sort of the genesis of the show. If it's not like woke bullshit, if that's not what the show is about, which is actually another thing. We got a lot of emails about Superman because I made some comments about the new Superman movie in the last episode and how I don't care about it because I think DC just hasn't done anything meaningful pretty much ever. As it pertains at least to a full-scale cinematic universe. They've made good individual movies, but I'm just saying, when it comes to like this cohesion, they just haven't really done anything. What I said was, everything I've heard is that the movie is good, and if you tell me that it's good, I'm going to believe that it's good. And a couple of you guys emailed in, and it was the same language that you used for each comment that you made. Was like, I know people say that the new Superman movie is woke garbage, but I think you're gonna like it, and I think you should check it out. Listen, again, I don't care if something is quote unquote woke garbage. That's what this show is 90% of the time, so that doesn't really bother me. Also, like if Ben Shapiro comes out and takes a picture, if Ben Shapiro comes out of the closet, no, if he, could you imagine? What does that look like? Should we spend 10 minutes on that? I'm kind of all over the place right now. Let me get my ducks in a row. Let's shelf Ben Shapiro comes out of the closet. Well, actually, no. So let's do that in a different episode. If Ben Shapiro does one of his bullshit, like goes on Twitter and takes a selfie in front of like a movie poster outside of a theater, and he's like woke garbage, then you know that the movie probably rules. Probably is pretty good. He did the same thing for Barbie, and the people, even like the ultra progressive people of this country, there was actually sort of a middle ground that they reached with the far right of America, which they thought that the movie was stupid, but the reasons that they thought it was stupid were different. So like, there are people in my life that I know that are like even further left than me, and they think that Barbie sucked because it was elementary, like entry-level feminism. And so the fact that it wasn't quote-unquote saying anything and just kind of spinning the tires again on like feminism, they're like, well, that's why it sucks. And then obviously the right-wing people, we don't need to cover that angle. But I thought that was interesting. It's like, it wasn't feminist enough. Barbie wasn't feminist enough. What are we, 2-3 years removed from Barbenheimer? Fuck it, let's do a rehash of this really quick. I don't like that take very much. I don't think it's fair, because I think for like IP, like Barbie, to convey any sort of message that actually could be, how do I make this point? The people who think that it's entry-level feminism have been quote unquote doing this shit for like years. And I'm like, you're not showing grace to the people who have been like red-pilled before and are like slowly crawling out of that. Or the people, truthfully, who just like don't think about that shit. Because you can be a good person and not think about like socially like what other people are dealing with. I know that maybe is a sort of a hard concept to imagine. Is that some people just kind of exist in their own bubble and that's it. And they're actually not a bad person. But I don't think any of those messages in Barbie were like too on the nose, and I think some of them, like, well, I'm trying to think of a damn quote from the movie. What's even the point that I'm trying to make here? Entry-level feminism. Well, I don't think it's too late for anybody to get started thinking about the idea that women are also people who exist in the world. And so I think that for the take to be that it's elementary feminism, it's like, yeah, like, congrats to you, I guess, because you've been doing this. And that's something that's something that pisses me off, is like this idea that because you haven't been involved in this political ideology or this social ideology for years, you've been fighting this fight for years, there's no room on the bandwagon, people can't get radicalized. I'm not saying Barbie fucking radicalized anybody. It was the Barbie movie. That's not really what the point of it was. But I do think that I don't know, I think there was a line in there, what was it at the end of the movie? It made my shit tear up. Because I was like, what if I have a daughter someday? What was the line? It was like, as a mother, you exist to, what was the fucking line? It was something to the effect of, we exist. So I don't remember what it was. But there was some powerful messaging in there, I thought. And I also believe that I'm somebody who, listen, I've lived in a matriarchal household I've been in one relationship my entire life. And there has been one matriarch the entire time. And so, like, with how power dynamics and all this shit go, the most powerful people that have ever been in my life, every single one of them have been women, right? So this wasn't like an eye-opening experience to me, but I thought it was important for, I don't know, girls who are like fucking 9 years old to see, I don't know, who cares? I care. You know what? And that's another thing. Well, no, stay on this. I don't know. And do you not think there was one Chad in the world who saw that movie with his girlfriend? They did a double feature, and because everything is on his terms, they had to see Oppenheimer first, which is valid, because I think if you saw Oppenheimer second, if you did a Barbenheimer double feature and you saw Oppenheimer second, I think your vibes would get fucked with a little bit. I actually think in retrospect, the best way to have done that would have been Oppenheimer first, be like, whoa, super heavy, and then go see like a fun, saturated, like neon Barbie movie where Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie are just skating around Venice Beach. And then that way, you know what I mean? The vibes, the mood gets lightened a little bit by the time you get out of the theater. You're like, wow, I'm in a great mood, and not in like a super nihilistic and like, what the fuck mood? You know what I mean? I don't know. You're telling me there wasn't one guy in the world who left that theater with his girlfriend that he like kind of hates, but, you know, tolerates because he just believes in the mechanics of being in a relationship, but doesn't actually understand, like, I don't know, emotional availability or any type of shit like that, or like listening or anything like that. You don't think he left that theater being like, whoa, what the? He looked at his girlfriend like, wait, are you a guy? Are you not a guy? He's not gay. I'm just saying, are you a person? You're a real person? I don't know, that guy. So it's a weird tangent to go on where you just sort of invent a guy that may or may not have existed just to be like, well, one of those guys existed. I guess probably he did. I don't know. The point that I'm trying to make here is I don't know, because I don't really remember. Really, we're 10 and a half minutes into the episode. Okay, so let's actually start talking about something else. I think Barbie was good, and I think anybody who thinks of that movie's, woke garbage. Thank you, Nick, for getting back to the point. So what if Superman is woke garbage? I don't even believe that it is. Why? Because Superman stops a genocide? That's what I've read. I'm not going to see the movie. I'm not going to see the movie because I don't care. It's not because I think the movie's bad. It's because I don't like the IP. I don't think it matters. I said in the last episode that Superman is an alien, not a superhero. And one of you guys pointed out to me, mini spoiler alert here, apparently there's a throwaway line in the movie where Lex Luthor's whole thing is, Superman is an alien. He's not of God's earth, and so we need to kill his ass. And one of you guys was like, well, so you're siding with the villain in Superman. So what does that say about you? I would say that I guess I am sort of the villain of that story then. If not just because I actually believe that as a piece of rhetoric, as like a narrative truth, I do believe that Superman is not of God's earth, even as a man who's not God-fearing like myself. He's an alien, so he should go away. I don't know. But then also, if it's not just because of that, then it's because like, so I'm like Nicholas Hoult. I'm literally Nicholas Hoult. I've also wanted to dye my hair blonde in the past. Now, this was like 10 years ago. 10 years? Yeah, about 10 years ago. When I was in my late teens, yeah, I wanted to be we're talking about Barbie, yeah. Barbie blonde, platinum blonde. I wanted to do that really bad. But I just knew I wouldn't be able to pull it off because my features are so dark. Everything else is just so dark that the contrast of it wouldn't really make a lot of sense. And so I never did it, which I think was a good call. But oh no, I'm literally Nicholas Hoult. That's fine. I will be the Lex Luthor of this story if I have to be. That's fine with me. Hey, I had an idea like 30 minutes before the episode where I was like, what if I just asked you guys a bunch of questions as it pertains to a bunch of different sports? So each segment will essentially be me talking for however long, and I kind of just fire off a bunch of questions. And you'll kind of see where this goes. I mean, it's sort of the nature of the show that it's not, of course, it's not scripted, but most of the time I don't really know what I'm going to talk about. And the truth is I don't know a lot of the questions that I'm going to ask you guys, but I'm a very inquisitive person. And so where do we want to start with this thing? Well, I don't know. Listen, as I'm taping this, the Lions are actually playing in the Hall of Fame game against the Chargers right now. It's halftime when I started recording. It's the preseason. I really don't care. And even before I start asking like NFL fans questions, right? It's going to be something for everybody in this episode. Again, you, as always, use the timestamps to your advantage. Before we do broad NFL stuff, we've gotten a lot of emails in the last couple of weeks as training camp has kicked off in the NFL, and the season is very much on the horizon. From Lions fans specifically, copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program, where you guys have asked, like, hey, where are you at with this season? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And even one of you guys sent in a brilliantly written email where you teed up every possible question or, a talking point that I could have, and I didn't read it. I haven't read any of them. And I haven't talked about the Lions. I didn't cover anything that they did in the draft. I haven't talked that much about things that they've done in free agency. It's not because I don't know. It's not because I haven't been watching or reading or paying attention. I've kept tabs on every single personnel move that the Lions have made since their season ended in January. The truth is, the reason that I just can't get myself to talk about them is I'm once again scared. Once again. Because I just can't get it out of my head that it's the Lions. I don't like starting that way. Let me just be real with you. Since Dan got here, it's not even about like building on success, which I guess is what it is. It's like exceeding the success from this. Well, I was gonna say exceeding the success from the season previous. That's building on success. They blow whatever they did in the previous season out of the water the next season. That's the pattern for the last 3 years of the Lions, right? There hasn't been that much reason to not be super juiced about whatever it is that they're doing. They finished 9-8, and then they finished, what were we, like 11-5? And then last year it was 15-2. They only get better. You can't expect them to go 17-0 this year, and they're not going to. The schedule is brutal. Where I'm going with this is every single year in those 3 years that I just mentioned, once we get into the offseason, I get so scared that by the time September rolls around, the magic will be over. And like during the off season, when people are getting all excited and all hyped, I'm like, what if it's over and we don't even know that it's over? You know what I mean? Because we've been tortured as fans. I'm still getting used to the idea that the team that I root for in the NFL, which is at the end of the day, the league that I care about more than anything else in the world, the team that I've rooted for my entire life has sucked. They've been terrible. They've made it to the playoffs a couple of times previous to, prior to the Dan Campbell years. We had some good years with Stafford and like Jim Schwartz and Jim Caldwell. There were some good seasons for sure. A lot of good players have come in and out of Detroit over the years in my life. 100%. But the difference, I think, was like during the Stafford years, even when they were having a good year and you knew they were going to make the playoffs, they were always on the outside looking in. And what I just still have not been able to in the last 2 years, since they've been real juggernauts, capital J juggernauts, top 3 to 5 teams in the NFL, the Lions the last 2 years have been top 3 to 5 teams in the entire league, still does not register with me. It doesn't click. There's something that's not working in my brain where like, I believe this is real. Because two things are somehow true here. I believe it's real, and I don't think under Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes that they will ever be the quote-unquote same old Lions. I really think that we're past that as long as these two guys are in the building. Because even when a season ago, the Lions are 15-2, they lost to Tampa Bay at the beginning of the year, which was just a really dumb game. I think Goff threw like 3 picks or something. But there was also a game where he threw like fucking 5 against Houston. It somehow still won that game. And then the other game they lost in the regular season was to Buffalo. And by the time that they were playing Buffalo, and I don't want to use this as like, well, the Lions were banged up. I don't want to use the injuries excuse. They were playing the MVP of the NFL, right? They were playing Josh Allen. The total points scored in that game was like a damn 100 points, right? But the truth is, by like week 6 of last year, 90% of the guys that were playing on defense for the Lions weren't even on the fucking roster when the season started. And so this like turnover and injuries and all this stuff that was happening it was all of the success last year for a half of the season, 3/4 of the season was on the back of the offense. And so as long as they stay healthy, I don't know. I'm just scared. It's really all that it is. The kid that they drafted was he an edge rusher or is he an interior guy? He's a lineman. He was a freak at the combine. I'm excited to see him. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. And then who's the receiver they got from Arkansas? Tesla? How are you supposed to say it? All he really does is run really fast. And it's like, well, that's all J-Mo did at first, but now he's like running routes like a motherfucker. The clips that have been coming out of camp of Jamison Williams, like running routes has been crazy. It's like, oh, so he's not just like a cut up the field and run past the defense. And Jared Goff does the thing that every quarterback has like one guy where it's like, fuck it, J-Mo's down there somewhere. It's like, oh, J-Mo's like running routes now. Oh, okay. Can't wait for him to get a 9-game suspension because he consumed a sports drink that wasn't like league sponsor. They're going to get him on some bullshit again and suspend him for something stupid. I'm just really nervous. They've given us truly no reason to believe that it's the same old Lions. They've given us no reason to believe, despite both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn leaving, the coordinators leaving, a myriad of different assistants leaving, and this, that, and the third. Personnel-wise, the Lions are a bit of a different team this year. Offensively, they're pretty much the exact same. But on the sideline, there's a lot going on. That shouldn't worry me, and it technically doesn't. Because even, by the time real life week 1 comes around, I'm going to be back. Like, it's not going to be, but it's just the in-between that just gives me so much anxiety that I just am not able to shake. Right? Where, I don't know, a year ago, when I was in this position, we were coming off of the NFC Championship loss. They blew a 17-point lead to the 49ers in Santa Clara. which is something that I, even saying that out loud, can't believe that I'm saying out loud, because I think is truly the most painful law. Like, I don't really even want to do a spiel about this, because I'm still not ready to talk about the NFC Championship game from a year and a half ago. What's weird is I'm like getting upset by the Commanders at home when they were the Lions were the 1 seed. For the rest of my life, I don't know if they'll ever get the 1 seed again. It's hard to imagine that will happen. For the rest of my life, which, by the way, is not to downplay, again, anything that Dan has built, or that Brad Holmes has built, or that Jared and Amon-Ra, all these guys have built. They deserve our trust. They 100% do. But it's been 3 years, bro. It's been 3 years of them, like, blowing us out of the water. Oh, my God, I can't believe we have a real team. And for me, it was 24 other years of them being the fucking Lions, you know? And so there's just got to be a little bit of balance. And I'm just not able to, again, I think I said this, it doesn't click. It doesn't register. This is real. This is actually real. They lose to Washington. It just doesn't bother me. It sucks. It hurt. It was brutal. I'm sure if I went back and listened to the episode that I recorded immediately after the game, I will relive a lot of those emotions. But I've moved past it, because I don't have a problem with Jaden Daniels. I think he's sick. I think he's awesome. Terry McLaurin, as of this taping 4 hours ago, Terry McLaurin requested a trade. The whole contract extension thing has not gone well for him. I think that this will probably end, this whole trade thing. I think will probably end in him signing an extension. I would be shocked if he, doesn't come back to camp and he's not a Commander by week 1. I would be very, very surprised if that was the case. This happens all the time, right? Guys just have to put some messaging out there. But the point being, like, it's that Commanders team I don't have a problem with, because I think they have a lot of really likable guys, and I think they had a really fun season. It just really sucked that the culmination of Jaden Daniels, like one of the better rookie seasons that we've ever seen from a quarterback in the NFL. It sucks that, like, the highlight of that was at my favorite team's expense, and then by extension of that, at my expense, right? That part of it stinks, but, like, he's not a guy that I root against. It's funny, you go back and watch his LSU tape, and how many questions people had about him. And it's easy to say this now that we know after at least 1 year that it works with Jaden Daniels. It's so funny to look at his LSU tape, or even his Arizona State tape, and be like, people were questioning this. They didn't think it was going to work. Rest assured, again, after 1 year, certainly looks like it does, right? So where am I with the Lions? I'm all in with them, but I'm just so nervous, and I hate the anxiety of, like, preserving this moment and preserving for however long this stretch is going to be of them being a real team. It could go until the end of the decade, honestly. If they end up getting it, well, I don't know, timelines with Jared Goff. I don't know. Who knows? That's a whole different conversation. However many years this, like, wow, the Lions are actually good, exists, I try so hard to stay present, and I'm just so scared that it's going to be gone before we realize it's gone. But I don't think it's gone yet, but I'm still scared. I don't know how to describe it. But I do want to do a little bit of NFL here, and I do want to ask you guys some questions. So we'll pivot off of the Lions. I was chewing on this. What do you think, NFL fans, would be the equivalent of the Luka trade? And it's impossible to quantify what that trade would look like. If you really want to try in the comments, you can go for it. But think about the player. Who would the player have to be? Is it Mahomes? It doesn't have to be him. It could be Joe Burrow. It could be Lamar. It could be Josh Allen, It does have to be a guy who's homegrown, so you have to start there. Imagine, this is a weird way to, this literally has nothing to do with anything, but this just popped into my head. If Mitch Trubisky was good and was like the savior that the Bears thought he was going to be, and that's why they traded up for him, which is where I'm going with this. They traded up for him when they didn't have to do it in the draft. What was that, 2017, I think? And then immediately after he got drafted, people dug through his old tweets, because that's just how it goes. And there was a tweet where he was like, I love kissing titties. And people were like, hell yeah, Mitch Trubisky. So Mitch Trubisky gets the I love kissing Twitties. Okay, well, I'm not going to say it again. That tweet is that's where I got confused. That gets leaked for him after he gets drafted. But before Laremy Tunsil gets drafted, a motherfucker, hacks his account on Twitter and posts a picture of him with a damn bong gas mask. You guys remember when that happened? One of the funniest things that's ever happened during the NFL draft. It's two Americas. If Bomani Jones was here, he'd say, it's two Americas, folks. I don't know. If the Mitch thing worked and they traded up for him, and who fucking cares? Don't spend time on this. It's Mitch Trubisky. He stinks. Who cares? He's never been good. He was never good. Like Justin Fields as a Bears quarterback, there were times when he was good, but he wasn't. But he just wasn't, right? I don't know. Who's the most likely out of if you just use you could be fucking Justin Herbert, by the way, but it couldn't be Justin Herbert. It just couldn't be, because even if you view him as a top 10 quarterback, unless you're a fucking Chargers fan or like an Oregon fan, you're not going to say he's one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Maybe that'll change this year, but I don't know. Mahomes, Burrow, Josh Allen, or Lamar Jackson. Who do you think is the most likely to get traded out of those 4? Well, none of them. But if we have to pick one, who would be like the Luka there, where it just destroys your reality and it completely uproots your fandom? Like if Tua got traded, who the fuck cares? Who cares? And if you're actually, I'm a Dolphins fan, and actually, if you look at his completion percentage, I wonder what his average air yards per completion it would be for Tua. I would be very curious to see that, because I bet it fucking stinks. Probably like 2 yards. He can sling that shit, but he can some real ropey throws from Tua. I'm fighting ghosts right now. Nobody's arguing with me. I'm just arguing with my fucking self. So why don't I just get back to it? I think the answer is Lamar. I think it's him. Because we have already seen the front office do a whole song and dance about like, well, maybe we don't want to pay him. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe he's just a running back who can throw the ball every now and then. Oh, okay. And then he got paid and won a fucking MVP. Mm-hmm. Oh, that guy? Yeah. But I don't know. Just seems like, because I don't know. But this is what makes the conversation so tricky, actually, is because who would be the Luka? Well, you don't become the Luka trade of the NBA adjacent, because we expect that you could get traded, I guess. So I got this backwards. I shouldn't be thinking about it in terms of who's the most likely. It should be the opposite. So who's the least likely to get traded? If we just eliminate Lamar. Lamar will never get traded in his life. Never in his life, but you know what I mean. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, who's the least likely to get traded? Out of those 3? Ugh. The most likely out of those 3 would be Joe, and that would only be because he demands a trade. And I don't think that's going to happen, Bengals fans. But I'm just saying, if they're like, what if we never give him an offensive line? What if we never give him a defense? What if we just did that? Well, then you're Matthew Stafford. What's up? You're literally Matthew Stafford. And then eventually, after a damn decade of getting the shit kicked out of you, you just say, you know what, Zach Taylor, this sucks. Please go to management. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Receiving core has always been good. He's never not had people to throw to. That's not what people argue about. It's that he doesn't have time to throw to anybody, and then he doesn't have a defense that will just give anybody on the offense time to, like, chill. So I don't think it's him. So I do think it comes down to Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Neither of, I think that's, you know what? Do they share that? Do they share it would have to be one of them to be the Luka trade. What's the case for trading Josh Allen? You can't think of a case to trade Patrick Mahomes. There's none. Could you have thought of a case to trade Luka? Again, this is such a weird question. Who is it harder to think of a case for between those two to trade? I think it's like co-offensive rookie of the year. It was Mike Miller, and who did he share it with? So it wasn't Michael Olowokandi. I don't even think they were in the same class. I swear to God, Mike Miller won in the early 2000s a co-offensive just a co-rookie of the year in the NBA. I swear that happened. Is that fiction? Is that a false memory? I swear that happened. I think Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, akin to Harry Potter and Cedric Diggory, both putting their hands on the Triwizard Cup, and it was a portkey, and they got sent to Voldemort, and they both got killed. But they both put their hand on it. I think Mahomes and Allen they both got a hand on this Luka trade thing, where it's like you can't trade either of them. I just think it has to be one of those two guys. Because again, Burrow, if he just gets the shit kicked out of him for 5 more years, I think he'll be like, I'm not doing this anymore. Lamar, I don't know. The whole paying him thing got really dicey. And if the Ravens just keep losing in the playoffs and Lamar is like fine, if at best in the playoffs, people are going to start asking questions. It's an inevitability. Major League Baseball. How about we do some baseball? Do a little bit MLB. MLB trade deadline was today. Pretty active. It was funny that there was some rumors that the Tigers were going to go after Eugenio Suarez, bring him back to Detroit, which would have been very funny considering 3 nights ago they tried to kill him. Pitched him like up and in and almost broke his fucking hand while they were in Detroit. And then my brother texted me. He was like, hey, Suarez got on the plane and he left Detroit, so I don't think we're going to get him. Where did he go? Seattle? Yeah. That's too bad. Carlos Correa going back to Houston. Boo! Tomato. Disgusting. Thank God I can go back to being like, hey, remember when the Astros were fucking cheaters? Remember that? I remember that. Never going to forget that. We'll always hate them because of that. Major League Baseball. Have you guys ever caught a foul ball before? We did. We caught one once. I'm sure I've told this story before. 2007, maybe a little later than that, maybe 2008. Maglio Ordonez, caught a foul ball from him. How cool is that, Tigers fans? Guy that sent us to the World Series in 2006. Yeah, we caught it. We didn't actually technically get it. The guy next to us got it, and then he just did the noble thing where he just gave it to my brother and I were kids. We're 10 years old, if that. And he just gave it to us, and we're like, whoa. So we got a ball from Maglio. We still got that somewhere. I saw Vlad Guerrero hit a home run in that game, too. We were playing the Angels. Vlad Sr. Hit a home run in that game. Gloveless Vlad Sr. Remember when he was one of those guys, he wouldn't wear gloves. Yeah, he went yard in that game. Super cool. Actually, 9 years ago, as I'm taping this, I was at a Tigers game. And this is actually another question. So have you caught a foul ball? And then when you go to a baseball game, has something like this happened where, maybe it's your favorite player up to the plate or something like that. And so you whip your phone out and you record a few pitches. Have you ever accidentally caught a home run before? Oh, it's the best feeling in the world. It's the best feeling in the world. You know who 9 years ago, the day that I'm recording this, I accidentally recorded a home run from? Think Tigers baseball in 2016. Who could it have possibly been? It was Miguel Cabrera. Is there anybody else that it could have or should have been? James McCann also hit a grand slam in that game. James McCann actually playing for the Diamondbacks right now. He was just in Detroit for this previous series. It was cool to see him. He was playing Double-A ball like 4 months ago. So good for him for just kind of being around. Really good clubhouse guy. Yeah, I saw him hit a grand slam 9 years ago today. Accidentally caught Miguel Cabrera on camera hitting a home run. I say that like it's a scandal. I send that into TMZ. You're not going to believe what I caught Miguel Cabrera doing. I caught him with his pants around his ankles, and he was ripping for, it's probably like 410. You know how Miguel was. Probably about 410 feet, something like that. I don't know. I've been getting so sick of this shit, man. I learned a new thing about baseball dorks, because it really is the one sport that has just been, I don't want to say it's just been infiltrated by, dweebs, but it really always kind of has been a numbers game, but specifically since like the Billy Bean Moneyball shit, people get really analytical about the game. And so like 30 years ago, during the peak of, the steroid era of baseball, and, Major League Baseball actually avoids a lot of, what's reverse credit? Like, not controversy. They blame, reverse credit, blame. Very famously, I think is blame. I think the steroid era is used as like the players were fucking cheating, That was another era where Major League Baseball was definitely juicing the balls, which is also something that happened within the last, 7 years that they juiced the baseballs. There have been rumors fluttering all season that the balls are dead again this year, and that makes what Cal Raleigh doing, that makes what Cal Raleigh is doing even crazier. If the balls are dead this year and he's on pace to hit 60 home runs, wild. Is he going to break Judge's record? Wild. I don't know. 30 years ago, the philosophy was if you want to rip the shit out of the ball, either take performance-enhancing drugs or get fat. Just put on a shit ton of weight. Oh, you're a pitcher? I'm looking at you, CC Sabathia. Eat like a motherfucker. Eat like a motherfucker. Put on 50 pounds because that's going to add 6 miles an hour to your velocity. Stuff like that, right? And then as soon as these pitchers retire, they lose a bunch of weight. CC Sabathia, I don't want to say he looks great, but he's not as big as he was 10 years ago because that was his whole deal. It was just like, if you want to be good at baseball, just get huge. Now it's like, this sounds so dumb, but like, what I don't like about baseball now is it's not about hitting home runs. It's not about home runs. RBIs don't mean anything. Win-loss record means absolutely nothing. I'm looking at you, Paul Skeens. It means absolutely nothing. You could be the best pitcher in the fucking world, and you could be 1-10, but you have a 1.72 ERA, right? It just means you don't have run support. Now, win-loss record, that's always been the case with it, and you look at ERA and shit like that. But even those don't tell the whole story, because you have to look at whiff rate. You have to look at like ground ball percentage and shit like that. And that's what the Tigers have been. That's what they did at the deadline, is they just went after a bunch of guys who were in their mid-30s to their fucking 40s who had high whiff rates and like good ground ball numbers, but everything else about them would indicate that there's nothing going on. Scott Harris is building his fucking team in Detroit like he's shopping out of the dollar movie bin at Walmart, and it's insane. I don't need it explained to me why he's doing that. I get why he's doing that. He doesn't want to tear apart the farm system that the Tigers currently have, because even though they have had the worst post-All-Star stretch that they've literally ever had a decent series against the Diamondbacks, and then they kicked the shit out of was it Toronto that they put up like 10 runs? I think we lost that series, though. I don't remember. They had a horrible stretch post-All-Star break, the worst they've ever had. They're still like a game out of the best record in Major League Baseball. They're still like 9 games up in the division. So the Tigers are completely fine. Despite that, I actually don't think that this is the World Series year. I look at Toronto and I'm like, oh no. I look at the Yankees, I'm like, yeah, they're fine, but like, oh no. I don't know. Houston, the record would suggest that is a team that I should be scared of, but again, I will just never be able to stomach them being good. It just bothers me because I just don't like orange. The Mariners, another team. The Tigers played them at the beginning of this month, the last series before the All-Star break. I mean, the Mariners were putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers on the Tigers. That series was not close. I think one of the games was close, like medium close, and then the Mariners scored like 100 runs in the top of the 9th inning. Cal Raleigh hit like 2 home runs in that game. I don't think they're going to win the division. They'll probably be a wild card team, but even then, that's not really a team that I want the Tigers to be playing. So I don't think it's going to be this year. So the point that I'm getting at here is like, if you're Scott Harris, you don't want to tear apart the farm and make all these super flashy moves when you don't have to yet. You know, it's somewhere between. It's not a developmental year for the Tigers, but it is kind of like a making. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. But the reason that I'm antsy about it is because. You talk about 9 years ago, I was at this game. Yeah, bro, 10 years ago, the golden years of the Detroit Tigers in my lifetime, Dave Dombrowski was the general manager. That guy didn't give a shit about anything other than getting the best players. He was the most aggressive general manager of any team that I've ever rooted for in my entire life. So, like, mainly the Detroit teams, right? The main 4 teams. Never had a GM like him. Where like this feeling of, oh my God, I can't believe we went after that guy. Chasing that feeling for the rest of my life is something that I will just always hold on to. I remember when the notification came through on my iPod Touch that we signed Prince Fielder. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe that happened. He was only there for like 2 years. And then there was some stuff about maybe some teammate locker room drama and some people sleeping with each other's wives and blah, 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 blah. Traded Prince to Texas for Ian Kinsler. Another one, though. Do you remember when David Price got traded to the Tigers? I do. Did it work? Nah. But I remember when it happened. And I remember how big of a deal that it was. There was nobody like Dave Dombrowski. And if your team is ever blessed with the opportunity to be managed by him, generally, strap in. Put your seatbelt on, because he's going to pull some shit off. So I can't be mad. But also, by the way, in doing all of that, Dave Dombrowski gutted the farm system in Detroit. All 3 levels, all 4, there's high A and single A, so technically 4 levels, whatever. Single, triple, double A, all of it, gutted. All of the good players, gutted. Because there was an objective. And that's how we ended up in the dark years of Tigers baseball, in between then and where we are now. It's a damn miracle that we got out of it to begin with. And so I appreciate Scott Harris and his due diligence and just chilling out and being like, why don't we just wait to see what this is before we do a Correa trade? Or I wanted them to go after Harrison Bader. I didn't even know he was available. I was pissed when I saw he went to the Phillies. I wanted Harrison Bader, not because we needed an outfielder, but he just has such a good glove. And I just thought, I don't know, maybe. Yeah, he was available the whole time. Damn it. The truth was they needed guys in the pen, and that's what they got. Even if they're all 100 years old, the guy we got from Cleveland is on the IL right now. What the hell? Traded for another guy a couple days ago. He's got like an ERA. He pitches 6 innings a game and lets up 5 runs. Cool. Love it. Oh, but if you look at his whiff rate, he's inducing swings and misses on 30% of his pitches. This is what I'm saying, man. There's too many damn numbers. It's not about hitting home runs anymore. It's about pulling the ball. That's what people want to do. It's pulling the ball and just getting it into the outfield. Annoying. You remember when Big Papi would come up to the plate and all he could do was pull the ball back when you were allowed to do defensive shifts? And it was like the third baseman would be at shortstop and the shortstop would be at second. And the second baseman would kind of be in like a floater position in between center and left field or center and right field. And the first baseman would just hug the line. The left fielder was in fucking center. The center was in like deep right field. And then the right fielder was hugging the foul line. Because there was no chance that David Ortiz, Big Papi, was going to pull the ball. I'm sorry, that he was going to go opposite field. It was never going to happen. And guess what? It never did. Ever. Big Papi. Could he pull the ball? I don't know. When you think about another one of the worst moments of my entire life as a sports fan, the David Ortiz Grand Slam. What year was that? 14? When was the Boston Marathon? Yeah, it would have been 2014. This is our fucking city. Shit. He was right. They won the World Series. 2 Chechnyans bombed the Boston Marathon, and David Ortiz was like, what if we won the World Series? It's a good response. Can't really argue against it. You remember when, where's Big Papi from? Is he the Dominican Republic? Is that where he's from? Or is it like Costa Rica? I think he's Dominican. Do you guys remember a couple years ago when Big Papi got shot? Wasn't it in his butt? I think Big Papi got shot in his butt. I think that's what happened. But he definitely got shot. I don't remember how. And he was fine, but he got shot. And it was crazy on Twitter for a little bit because we were like, holy shit, if Big Papi's dead, this sucks. Not even sucks. That's super reductive. But anyways, I'll never forget the video of what happened to the guy, or maybe plural guys. What happened to them after Big Papi got shot? They got murdered by just like the public. Because you can't shoot David Ortiz. Not on his home turf. Could you shoot David Ortiz in Boston? No. I don't think you could get away with that. Who could you shoot in Boston? What do they think about Manny Ramirez these days? There's another question for you, Bostonians. Do they look back at Manny Ramirez and they're like, hell yes? I don't remember why they wouldn't. Other than he was just, baseball has head cases sometimes. It's just sort of the nature of the sport. I mean, it's the nature of any sport, but Manny Ramirez, was it Boston, Dodgers, Cleveland? Or was it Boston, Cleveland, Dodgers? I remember when he left Boston, and something happened. I don't remember what it was. There was some shit that happened with him, and I don't remember what it was. It might not have been like bad. I'm just saying, even if it was like he was arguing with somebody in the front office, it was contract stuff. I don't remember what it was. I'm just saying something happened, and I'm not remembering what it was. He didn't just leave or get traded, or I don't remember what happened with Manny Ramirez. Who's somebody else that you could shoot in Boston? Kyrie. Probably Kyrie. Probably don't care that much for him at this point. Who's a different one? Let's think of one more guy that you could shoot in Boston. What do they think about Kurt Schilling? I don't know, like politically, are Bostonians like more aligned with where he is these days? Because he had such a weird career where he had the bloody sock game. It was like Kurt Schilling, wow, one of the world's best pitchers, and then he retired, and then he was like a video game developer or something. I don't remember what that was all about, but he was like really big into video games. And then he just started like endorsing Donald Trump. I don't remember. This is talking about it. I mean, man, I don't know how you at home feel about this. I personally don't love how often I will half-assed bring something up while having no idea what actually the thing is that I'm talking about. The amount of times in this episode alone that I've gone, remember this thing? And then immediately followed that up with, I don't think that's actually what happened. And I just get so frustrated with myself when I believe that words matter, but then I get on this show and they don't. But then they don't. Do I have anything else for baseball? Nah, there's some questions in there. And then also there's a little bit of a rant about the Tigers in there. NHL. What's up, hockey fans? Let's do you guys. Where do I want to go with this? Well, there's not so much of a question here. This is sort of an observation, and then maybe it'll go into a question. You know what I really admire about the NHL is when a guy like Ovechkin wins the cup, there's sort of this universal sigh of relief and just excitement that a guy like him, an all-time great, actually did it, right? That he actually got over the mountain. And I think, for a sport that it's like all of the other sports in America, people are super competitive about it. And, the fans, and they're super passionate and all this stuff. Of course they are. In some cities more than others, like especially the ones in Canada, despite the fact that they always stink and they haven't. I mean, we've owned the Stanley Cup for 30 damn years now. And Toronto, every single year, people think that they're going to do it. And then in some, they just inexplicably out of the, damn it, oh my God. I was going to say they inexplicable their way out of it, which I'm losing myself. The point being, I don't know, unless you're Edmonton the last 2 years, like Florida winning a Stanley Cup is insane to me. Like almost disrespectful to the sport. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. That I have had to take my whole life, and I don't think I'm ever going to be swayed on this. If you're below the halfway point of the United States, I don't think you should be able to play hockey. I do not think that you should have a professional team. It's not your sport. It's not for you. Like if you don't have seasons, everybody has seasons, even if you live in Florida, right? My grandparents right now, they live in Florida, and they're in the middle of the summer. There's this 4-month stretch where it's 100 degrees with 100% humidity every single day for 4 months. Then it cools off a little bit. Yeah, sure, you have seasons. You go to California, yeah, you in some ways experience the 4 seasons. But if you don't think you know exactly what I'm talking about right now, then shut up. I'm talking Pacific Northwest, Midwest, East Coast. We have 4 seasons. Canada, as a country, 4 seasons. Guess what? That means when your ponds freeze over, when your lakes freeze over, guess who gets to go play hockey? You. Guess who doesn't 365 days out of the year have to go to some indoor arena, some indoor rink to play hockey? You don't get to play hockey then. How about that? I don't think you get to play hockey. I'm never going to be swayed on this. Don't send me an email, by the way. You can leave a comment. Don't send me a fucking email because it's not getting read on the show. I don't think they deserve to play hockey. So the fact that for the last, 5 years, it's been Tampa Bay and Florida. Hasn't Dallas been kind of good? Fuck that. That sucks. That's terrible. I would rather, honestly, I was going to say I'd rather go to Canada. I actually don't have a problem with any Canadian team winning other than the only Canadian team I don't want to win the cup is the Senators. I've never liked them. Winnipeg, love it. Love it. That'd be cool. Edmonton, yes, because I want to see Draisaitl and Connor McDavid have a goalie. If they have a goalie, then they're going to win a Stanley Cup. I'd love to see them hoist one, for sure. Montreal, from a historical perspective, very cool. Also, original six. I keep my original six brothers in arms. All right? Who are the original six? Wings, they're number one. They are the original. Even if they're not. I don't think they are, but they are to me. That's what matters. Wings, Canadiens, Leafs, Blackhawks, Rangers. Come on, Nick. There's one more. It's not the Senators. Is it this? I have to look this up. I don't want this to fall to the wayside. I want to look this up. NHL original six. It's not the Senators, is it? I said, oh, Boston. Boston. I'm sorry. Of course. Boston. Right. Fuck them. Fuck them. No. Okay. There is an original five that I am okay with. Boston does not get to be in there. Who would Boston kill? We're talking about people getting murdered in Boston. Who would they shoot from the Bruins? They wouldn't shoot Chara. No way. Marchand? No way. No. I don't think they would kill any of the Bruins. If I really thought about guys on the Patriots, the Celtics, and the Red Sox, I could think of some guys. I mean, I did. I couldn't think of anybody on the Bruins, I don't think. But everybody else, sans Boston in the original six, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I would be reluctant to do it for Chicago. Toronto would be up there too in terms of like, I don't really, it's funnier to me when they're miserable. It just is. It's just funnier to me narratively that they're literally never going to do it. It's never going to happen. Ever, ever, ever. But it does sting for Austin Matthews. Good mustache that he has. I don't know, hockey fans. I haven't really asked you guys a question yet. Who's the worst guy in hockey? And what I mean by that is not like an individual player, but like who's the worst? Some of you guys surely have played it. Unless you live in the South, then you've never fucking played that shit before. It's so destitute, hockey in the South. It's so destitute that Phoenix had to play in a damn college arena for, was it a year or two? And then they were like, wow, nobody cares about this franchise, which stinks if you're like Shane Doan. Always loved him. One of the fastest skaters I've ever seen. Shane Doan. Big ups, big respect to the man dem. They moved to damn Utah. Utah gets hockey. Yeah, they deserve hockey. They deserve hockey. Los Angeles does not. They've won a Stanley Cup. They had Wayne Gretzky. Doesn't mean that they deserve hockey. I don't think that they do. The Kraken deserve it. And I'm going to zag, and I'm going to totally destroy everything that I've been saying. I think Vegas deserves hockey. Well, I like the Knights, so... But why do I think they deserve hockey? I guess I just think because Vegas is sort of our country's Coliseum in my head. Even if that's not really true, I think that would be New York. You know, when shit happens, it's usually like at the Garden. Or it's in Los Angeles, honestly. But Vegas, to me, is so cartoonish in the best way. Where, like, I guess it's mainly only, like, fights that happen there. You know, like UFC or whatever that happens there. I don't know why. I guess I don't know why I'm okay that with Vegas having a hockey team. I shouldn't be using my own logic. They're in the middle of the desert. They should not be able to play hockey. But they sure do, don't they? And the first year, and I think maybe subconsciously this is some of it, is like when the first year that you exist as a franchise, you're in the fucking Stanley Cup. Valid. It's a hockey town. I think the branding is good. I think the sweaters have always been good. It's just, I don't know. It's easy for me to root for them. Sorry, NHL fans. I guess I don't have any. Oh, I didn't ask the question. The worst guy, what I mean is like, if you've played hockey or, you know, that's your main sport, is it the type of guy who, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to ask this. In the NBA, I think the worst guy is the field goal percentage savings club. The guy who holds the ball until the fractions of seconds after the buzzer sounds, he puts up a full court shot to make it look like he was trying to get the shot off, but he was purposely not doing it in time so that it didn't count against his field goal percentage, which the rule that they tested out in Summer League, we covered it on the show, they've tweaked that. So even if you take a full court heave and you miss it, it doesn't count against your personal field goal percentage, it counts against the team's field goal percentage. It's a brilliant rule change. That's how you eliminate the worst guy in basketball. That's the easiest way I can put it for you in terms of asking who's the worst guy in hockey, right? I'm trying to ask it because I'm trying to lead you to the direction of like cross-checking or something. Like, of course, nobody wants to get cross-checked, but I kind of want to watch it happen. I don't know. Very, very close friend of mine, one of my all-time best friends, was in a suburb of Detroit recently. It's where he lives, and he was outside of like a Hockey World, like, you know, one of those like hockey sporting goods stores. Bro, he was in there with Cronwall. Whoa. You talk about cross-checking and dudes getting Cronwalled? That, to me, is the architect, right? But that's not the worst guy to me. I just love that he would run out there, he would skate around, and Nicholas Cronwall's job was to hurt people. Yeah, first of all, that's Detroit sports in a nutshell, and so maybe that's just why I'm okay with it. Get what I'm asking? That's the easiest I can make it for you. He's the worst guy in hockey. And then what's another real sport? Have we covered the NBA yet? Is it a funny bit if I don't do the NBA and I don't ask any questions? Let me do it. I'm going to do it. NBA fans. I think this is going to be the shortest segment of all of them. Because I got to be honest with you. Well, I'll say it after this. I'll make this point later in the show. So what is it at this point when you turn on an NBA game? I know most of you who listen to the show, the NBA is going to be like, that's your favorite league, right? And so I want to be respectful here. I'm not trying to shit on the league. I mean, I am a little bit, but what is it about it at this point that keeps you hooked? Because it's clear at this point for the last 10, 15 years, as social media becomes a bigger part of not just the NBA, but every single sport, but the relationship that people have with social media and the NBA, I do think is different than it is with the other sports. And this soap operification of the league, I think has brought in a lot of people, right? The this league crowd who like lived off of Woj bombs and whatever we call it when Shams breaks news, like whatever it is. I think for a lot of it, like that digital relationship with the league matters, and then they could give a fuck about the games. Like it's almost like a sort of, it's like a social mechanism for like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like, it's really the one league that people will talk about in America and support online, but then like not watch the games. And I'm not trying to sound like the guy who's like, well, if you know, you're not even watching the games. Who gives a shit if you're not watching the games? But it is kind of weird because like you're not going to hear somebody fire off some takes about Lamar Jackson or Matthew Stafford and they haven't watched the last 2 Rams games or the last 2 Ravens games. Guys like don't do it that. I'm not saying that person doesn't exist, but you get what I'm saying? Somebody will go a month without watching an NBA game. An NBA game. They'll go 2 months, an unknowable amount of time. They won't watch the games, period. Maybe they'll consume short-form content. Somebody posts a breakout of Anthony Edwards throwing some sick shit down in transition or like hitting an insane jumper or something. And like they watch that clip and then like they get all of their takes from that. It's so interesting. So what is it for you at this point? Because I struggle with this. I don't really know what keeps me coming back other than like I like the team that I root for and I like all of the players. But, and I hate to be the guy who's like, what happened to the game I love? And, oh, the NBA used to be so much better. Maybe it wasn't better. I don't know. Because the talent is certainly the best that it's ever been. But that's also what's weird. Is that's not how it's marketed. at all. And this has been well documented at this point. And, this isn't, I like to think of this show as open sourced intelligence, one of the more crucial minds on this platform. But this is not an original thought. The NBA has really struggled with marketing a generation that isn't the one that people my age grew up with. So it's like, they still do the Steph thing. They still do the LeBron thing. They still do the KD thing. They are clinging to these guys as long as they possibly can. And they're not uplifting the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders of the world, right? Or the Anthony Edwards of the world. People on social media do a better job of platforming Anthony Edwards as the quote-unquote future face of the league than they do for like a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Luka is kind of somewhere in the middle with that. Jokic kind of somewhere in the middle with that. Giannis kind of somewhere in the middle with that. But what I think is interesting is when you think about even the NFL and you compare it to the NBA, more often than not, the way that the NFL markets itself is like teams, right? Sure, they'll do the Mahomes thing or they'll do the quarterback thing is basically what it is. But that's the head of the snake. That's not really the same thing. It's such a the rosters they're just built so much differently. The point of it is that like they focus on the teams. Where like when an NBA game is marketed, it's about I'm butchering this point a little bit, but I hope you get where I'm going with this. And so to me, it has almost turned into like a funhouse mirror image of what I thought it was, right? I don't have a problem with the in-season tournament, the NBA Cup, sponsored by Emirates. I don't have a problem with that because I actually think that it's one of those things that as the years go on, we're all going to love it more and more and more. What was this last year? I think it was the second year that they did it. It goes well. People watch the games. They go to the games. People have fun talking about it when it happens. Afterwards, it doesn't really mean anything. And so that's where it's a little bit different from, what they do in like the Premier League when you have the Carabao or you have the FA Cup. First of all, those campaigns take up most of the season. Right? So the Carabao wraps up in like February, and then I think the FA Cup is in, what is it, like April or maybe early May? Well, they're starting in August. So like they spend the whole year doing like 3 campaigns. And if you're in the Champions League, that's 4. Or you're the Europa League or the Conference League. Like you're playing 4 different seasons at the same time, right? Whereas in the NBA, you're playing one season and you're not playing extra games unless you make it to Vegas and you're doing this thing. So once it's over, it's kind of over and nobody cares unless you won. Like Bucks fans still love to be like, well, at least we got Dame some hardware. Shut up. It was cool when it happened, but that doesn't fucking count. Because right now it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't matter to anybody unless you were, wasn't the Lakers that won the year than the first one? I think it was the Lakers. Unless you're a Laker fan or a Bucks fan, nobody gives a shit about that right now. It's easy for me to say that because my team hasn't won it. If the Pistons win the NBA Cup this year, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to be like, oh my God, isn't it crazy how everybody cares about this? You know what I mean? But that's not going to be true yet. So I'm saying all this just to say, I like that a lot. I think people give the All-Star Game a lot of shit. The All-Star Game has never been cool, ever. And if you're going to tell me, well, what about this 1 year that it happened? I'm sure there's like a circumstance and there's a reason why it was cool, but it wasn't because it was the fucking All-Star Game. And you're going to tell me, well, what about back in the 90s? No. What was cool about the All-Star Game in the fucking 90s was that they were wearing their team's jerseys. And so it was just kind of, with a home or away version. That was cool, but it's an All-Star Game. They've like never been good. You know who does a really good job with the All-Star Game, and at this point is the only league that has a functioning All-Star Game that people really enjoy watching? Somehow it's Major League Baseball. Somehow. No idea how that happened. No idea. 5 years ago, people were like, wow, baseball is dead. The kids aren't watching baseball. They have no presence on social media, which matters. It may sound dumb, but that matters. And they're dead in the water. Well, the All-Star Game was a pretty big success. That swing-off that they did at the end, pretty cool. Would have been cooler if it was like guys that people actually cared about that were in there. Shout out to Kyle Schwarber. No shade to him at all. Guy rips. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. And I think, you could do the whole thing. I do see people still get mad about the advertisement patches on the jerseys. And I guess I'm not here to defend it. Because sure, you could be like, oh, capitalism invading the game that we love. It was always there, right? It was always there, and it was always in your face. Sure, baby, it's more in your face now, and it's more on the nose now. I guess the reason that I don't have a problem with it is, like, if you're watching today's show, right? I'm wearing this United shirt. We got the Snapdragon patch on there, right? Right on the chest. To me, it is a little fun when a team will stick with the same advertiser for a few years and it becomes part of the identity of, like, that team. Not like the real identity, like, tangibly, but, like, I think about when Oklahoma City had the Loves patch. It just, like, made sense and it looked cool. I don't know how to make, Milwaukee, when they had the Harley Davidson patch, it just looked cool. I don't know, the contrast of the orange on the green and white, I just thought it looked cool. The Pistons having Stock X makes complete sense, and also, by the way, looks sick, and by the way, rules. So that stuff doesn't really bother me. I mean, when you think about soccer shirts, right, when you think about the jerseys, you think about United. The Ronaldo shirts that people wear, when it's like AIG or something like that. Weren't they Sony at one point? I may have that wrong, but when the advertiser almost becomes part of the fashion, that is somehow interesting to me. And again, I don't want to sound like the guy who's like, it's so cool when we get to wear ads. No, that's not cool, but you get what I'm saying here. I don't know. So what's the question here? Why do you still care? Why do you still care? Is it the product? Is that what it is? I love that for you. I love that for you. I'm not here to shit on you for that at all. I love that for you. If that's the answer, good for you. It's not for me, though. It's not. Because the talent is the best that it's ever been in my life, and it'll only get better. And I haven't been able to identify why I still watch the games. I like the games. Again, I like the team that I root for. I love Cade. I just don't know what it is. It may just be that I have fun with you say the soap operification. Good job, Nick. I think that might just be it for me. But I guess the difference with me is, like, not to sound like a dork and be like, well, but I actually watch the games. Not really. I mean, I watch the games when it's the playoffs, and when it's the regular season, more often than not, the only games that I'm watching are Pistons games. So, like, I can talk about your favorite team when you play Detroit, but I'm not on a Wednesday night just turning on League Pass and being like, oh, Blazers, Pelicans, fuck yes, let me tune into this. I'm just not doing that anymore. It's just not interesting to me. And part of that is just the accessibility of the sport, but that is a whole different thing, and that's also sort of every league in the world right now. Honestly, instead of asking questions about soccer, you want me to just cover the Premier League coming to Chicago? How that was a thing? Yeah, that happened. I'm not wearing a damn United shirt for no reason. I don't want to bury the lead here, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. Got to watch Manchester United play Bournemouth here just down the street at Soldier Field. 24 hours ago, I was there. I was there. I was watching the game. I was soaking wet. And again, I don't want to bury the lead. It was maybe the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life, and it was maybe the best sporting event I've ever been to in my life. And when I tell you from the bottom of my heart, my tone isn't expressing it in the way that I want to right now, but this is coming from such a deep place in my heart and with so much sincerity. Everything that in my head and my heart that I wanted it to be, it was exactly that. It wasn't more than that, because I had a really high bar for, like, the environment and just what it would feel like to actually get to see this game played at its highest level, in person with my own two eyes. Sure, it's exhibition and the game doesn't actually count, and it's not, there's no Premier League stakes, actually at play or anything like that. And you can do that if you want, but don't be an asshole. It was the fact that it wasn't the fucking Chicago Fire playing the Columbus Crew or Charlotte FC or some bullshit like that, right? Like, these are two of the two teams in what I believe is the best league in the world. And the truth being that there's a non-zero chance that I never get to see either of these two teams play literally ever again, ever. And the fact that I was watching it happen, I couldn't believe it. Again, from the bottom of my heart, one of the more, like, inner child, holy shit, I'm like, whoa, I can feel it starting to come out a little bit. Crying. Because I haven't, like, verbalized it this much. Like, true inner child shit. where I was watching something in front of me that I could not take my eyes off of, and that I was just so genuinely happy in those moments watching that game. And so yes, the match previous, a couple hours before was Everton and West Ham. Our tickets got us into both games. The long and short of it, and we were supposed to go to both games. The long and short of it is we got rug pulled by our babysitter. I mean, at the worst possible time. And so we don't know that many people here. And so I had to scramble, and I called my brother, and I was like, I'm so sorry to do this to you. Like, can you come and watch Roman? Like, I will put him to sleep. All you need to do is sit here, and if he wakes up, please put him back to sleep. But that's all that you have to do. That's literally all you have to do. He's like, yeah, that's no problem. The long and short of that is my brother did an amazing job watching our son. No problems were had at all. My brother did an amazing job, and Roman, by the time we got home, was alive and asleep. So it was nothing, no problems. But because, my brother came here and we had to put Roman to sleep first, because there's no way Roman would have let my brother do it, because it's like stranger danger. My brother's never babysat him before, and we didn't want to put that on Matthew, right? And so because of that, we had to miss the first game, and that sucked a lot, right? But it was what we could do, and we just had to adapt on the fly, and we were able to get there in time for United and Bournemouth, right? So it was what it was. Guys, I don't want to keep corkscrewing and just like repeating myself, but like I was doing that thing, you go to like a concert is how I've experienced this before. It's a band that you've waited to see for God knows how long. It's an artist you've waited to see for God knows how long. And at some point throughout the show, you will have a moment where you are looking at the performer and it clicks in your head. I'm in the same room as you right now. You could be anywhere in the world, but in this moment, we are in the same room as each other. And I'm looking at you, and you're real, and this is happening. Can I tell you who I was doing that with while I was watching this game? I could not stop looking at Bruno Fernandes. I couldn't take my eyes off of him. When I was looking at, that forearm tattoo where he has like the 8 on his forearm, I could see the 8. I could see the tattoo. Even when he was just, warming up and all that shit, I couldn't stop looking at him. And I kept saying to myself in my head, that's Bruno Fernandes. That's Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes is right there. He's literally right there. By the way, if I had to name 10 guys in the Premier League that I like, he would be in there, but like he would be like 7 maybe. Like, I don't love him, but I like him a lot, and he's obviously great. But it was the fact that like I'm so happy that United wore the Reds. That the shirt that I'm wearing right now, this is what they wore. In my head, when they were playing in Jersey a couple days ago, they were wearing their new white uniforms, the new white kits that they have this year, which look cool. But they're, first of all, not as cool as the ones that they had last year with the black and the red stripe. Those are some of my favorite kits I've ever seen in my fucking life. With the old school, like the retro Adidas logo, they're so good, dude. It's really too bad those are gone. Did they get cycled out? I imagine they did. But I was like, please wear the Reds. Please wear the Reds. So when they come out, and the teams are, side by side, and they come out with the kids and all this shit, and I saw the Reds, the sigh of relief and like, oh my God. It was like, the way that I would describe it is like, imagine you lived anywhere that wasn't the United States, and you have one chance in your entire life to watch like the Yankees or the Dodgers, because any other sport, or the Lakers. I guess the Lakers would be a good one too, right? This like global brand that everybody knows the logo when they see it. That's Manchester United. That's the Dodgers. That's the Yankees. That's the Lakers. That's Barcelona, right? That's Real Madrid. There's a pantheon here, and United is in there. They just are. And to just like see the Reds, I couldn't. It was so fucking cool. It was so cool. And even as a guy, despite what I'm wearing right now, I don't think I'm going to root for United, but it was, you know what I mean? Like, that's the, like, it was just, it felt so special, and I felt privileged, which sounds dumb to say for a game that didn't count for anything and didn't fucking matter at all. But it did to me. And you know why else it mattered? Is because it wasn't just Bruno Fernandes. Hold on, I want to pull this up because, obviously I'm taking pictures and I'm taking videos. I'm doing all this stuff. And I didn't even tell you. You know who was there? First of all, because it was in Chicago. Ayo Dosunmu. Shout out to Ayo Dosunmu. He was there. That was cool. Bro, John Champion was there. He was on the mic doing player intros. I almost started crying. For those who, if you don't care about soccer, I'd be surprised if you're listening to this. I apologize for even doing this segment to begin with, but I care about this a lot. Imagine you were watching a game in London. Every year the NFL goes to London for a good handful of games. Imagine Romo was calling one of those games, or Jim Nantz is the better one here, was calling one of those games. And you got to see Tony Romo on the Jumbotron, and you knew for a fact that he was in the building, and you got to hear him with your own ears, like in person. That's fucking Jim Nantz talking right now. That's John Champion to me. His voice, to me, is synonymous with the Premier League. And I have the video pulled up, and I'm just like looking at him like talking on the Jumbotron. I couldn't believe it. And again, the fact that I was hearing his voice was, I'm going to start fucking crying. I couldn't believe it. I mean, that's just how I love the broadcasters, man. So, like, I'm looking at the... So I got to see, like, Harry Maguire. Whoa! Harry Maguire. Højlund scored. I got to tell you guys something. He had the first goal of the game. He had a header, but it was a bullshit header. He got like one strain of his hair on the ball, and it just counted for him. Okay, whatever. When they were doing the player intros, I did boo for Højlund. Not an aggressive boo. I literally did it like this. I put my hands over my mouth. I just went boo. So I was basically just doing it for me. I don't really like him very much. So I booed Højlund, cheered my ass off for Bruno Fernandes. I got to see Euro, which was cool because he's been a guy that because of FIFA, I've become hip to Euro. I really like him. Ahmad, that was cool. Casemiro, got to see him. I really wanted to see what's his name? Mizraoui. Yeah, Mizraoui, right? Mizraoui. I'm saying that out loud and it doesn't sound right. Well, I didn't get to see him and that stunk. Luke Shaw. I got to see Luke Shaw. Loved that. But Onana wasn't in net. Oh. It's probably good. They wouldn't have won 4-1. But but I didn't get to see Onana. I don't know what's going on with him. Did he even make the trip? I genuinely don't know. I let this be a surprise. I didn't want to know who was going to be in the lineup. I didn't know anything about like who was here and who wasn't, other than like who's been playing in these games since they got here. But they'd only played the jersey, so just the one game. Later in the game, De Ligt did sub in and then had I think there was an own goal. That was Bournemouth's own goal. It was off of De Ligt. Whoops. For Bournemouth, I don't want to leave them out here, not talk about them at all. Well, Tyler Adams was kind of the only one that I cared to see. And then he didn't check in until the 70s that he checked. And I was like, all right. And then, so that's sort of, the other piece of this is the weather. It didn't really show on TV. I watched the extended highlights after the fact, which I will watch for the rest of my life because I cannot believe that I was in that building. I can't believe that I was there. I'm so thankful that I got to finally just experience what it's like, man. And so this is where I'm going with this. So the weather was horrible. It was a monsoon. It was terrible. The whole game, it was terrible. I didn't have a poncho, bro. I was wearing a fucking t-shirt. And at some point, we go down to buy a poncho because I don't know if you've ever been to an outdoor stadium, they'd be selling ponchos. I worked at Wrigley. We sold ponchos like motherfuckers. I just assumed they would have ponchos. We went to a little kiosk and they're like, no, we don't have any here. And we're like, oh, do you know where we can go to get some? And they're like, there are none in this stadium. I was like, what the huh? So sure, I guess we could have planned a little bit better, but we just assumed that we could get one there, so we just didn't really think about it. And so a lot of the game, I had to just kind of like stand up and like go down to the concourse and just like chill because I was freezing my ass off because the weather was terrible. But the weather being terrible and it raining so much, I literally was like, wow, we're getting the true English experience. Like, you know what I mean? Like, wow, this really is a Premier League game. Sure, West Ham didn't sing the Bubbles song, or maybe they did, and I wasn't there, but I was watching it on TV. I didn't hear them sing it. They didn't do the Bubbles, which, there's no reason that they would have. They're not at home, but I don't know. I wanted the Premier League experience. I sure got it. Because of that rain. I really felt like I was in Manchester. Wow, impressed. The whole thing I was so impressed by. And the weather also did stink because it was a very hostile crowd for anybody that wasn't there rooting for United. It was a United crowd, but that makes complete sense. Again, one of the most recognizable brands in the entire world. Obviously, it was, but it stunk because at its peak, attendance-wise, 85% full. It was like, and it might have been more than that, but the attendance looked great. It was just like the absolute nosebleeds of nosebleeds that weren't filled, and that doesn't even count, whatever. But then the weather sucked, and people started leaving, or just like hanging out in the concourse, and so it stunk, but it was, oh my gosh, it was such a great atmosphere. And then the other piece of it was because, we'd only get to experience matches like this in Chicago once a year at most, if anybody comes here at all. Holy shit. I've never seen jerseys to this extent. Because if you go to an NBA game, you're going to see jerseys of the team that is the home team of the stadium, that the arena that you're there. Maybe some of the away team, or like a guy who shows up in a Steph jersey for no reason, or a LeBron jersey for no reason. But, people aren't going that deep in their bag at an NBA game, or really any sport, right? But because of the circumstances here, if you had a jersey that you wanted to flex, that was the sort of B story to the whole thing, was me just looking around and walking around and just seeing all the jerseys. Again, I hate to say this because it's not my sport. It's just one that I just love to watch, and I just love to talk about it with people. And I don't know that much about it. I just really have fun with it, man. But like, I felt so like, whoa, these are my people. Like, way more than I ever have at any other sporting event that I've ever been at. Like, I'm looking at a guy. People aren't just walking around wearing like PSG and fucking Real Madrid and Barcelona and shit like that. First of all, I didn't see Barcelona anything until after the game was over. Only saw one Lamine Yamal shirt, and I wanted to shake that guy's hand so fucking bad. I want to be like, hey, did you hear about his birthday party? This federal investigation is bullshit. Leave him alone. No, bro. It was like people walking around wearing like Norwich shirts, or like Middlesbrough, or like Millwall, or Sheffield Wednesday. Keep in mind, the day that this game happened, we're hours removed from that news that report that came out about Sheffield Wednesday's management being like, players are not going to get paid on time this month. They're not going to get their wages on time. And they're thinking about like striking and not playing until they get paid, which like, obviously that makes sense. So then to go to this game and see somebody wearing a Wednesday jersey blew my fucking mind. I mean, what else was there? A jersey that was most represented, like a club that was most represented outside of the four teams that were actually playing there. Give you a second to think about it. Who was it? Tottenham? Whoa. Lot of Tottenham. Okay. I mean, it makes sense. That is another very popular club, but okay. Of course, a lot of Chelsea and some, Real Madrid here and there. Liverpool was a big one. Guys sitting in like the, so we were in the first row of like the second bowl. And so like right below us, I can't make this up. If you've listened to the show and you listen to me do my soccer segments, there's one guy that I will never quit. You guys always tell me to quit him. I never will. I think you guys are wrong. It couldn't have been more perfect. Guy sitting right below me wearing a Darwin Nunez jersey. I wanted to shake that guy's hand. Be like, you and I were not so different. Only guy that I saw wearing a Darwin Nunez, obviously, wearing a Darwin Nunez shirt was great. There's some PSG here and there. I'm trying to think. There was some crazy ones. I mean, I said Norwich and like Championship League teams, and like it's just crazy to see people wearing shirts for clubs that are like 2 leagues below the Premier League. I was like, wow, you guys are like sickos for this shit. But that was so fun to me. That was really the secondary piece to this whole thing, was just seeing like, I don't know, City. Yeah, there were a couple Man City, like, pull-ups or jerseys or whatever. I don't know. Arsenal was very underrepresented. I saw one guy wearing an Odegaard jersey, which was cool. Little hat tip to that guy, Martin Odegaard. Shout out to him. I was just watching them play against Tottenham earlier today. They're playing in Hong Kong. Come on, Nick. There was one more. The craziest, I mean, obviously Ronaldo jerseys were dominating this whole thing. But it wasn't just like people wearing Ronaldo jerseys. It was Ronaldo jerseys that have clearly been worn 100,000 times by these people. So much so that like half of the letters had been like either through the washing machine, like washed off, or they just like peeled off altogether. And so there are like 3 letters, and then like one of them is already almost coming off. So it's like basically it just says like dough, but it's a 7 on the back. So you're like, okay, this guy's wearing a... Ronaldo was definitely the most. I didn't see one, come to think of it, one Messi shirt. I didn't see one, which is wild. Because you just walk around downtown Chicago, somebody's going to be wearing a Messi shirt. That's interesting. Yeah, I can't think of one that I saw. The most insane shirt that I saw, Manchester United, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Whoa, Ruud van Nistelrooy. The Leicester manager that just got fired, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Some of these names, I got in trouble with this a couple of weeks ago when I kept saying Yamin Lamal. I flipped the Y and the L if I talk too fast. Ruud van Nistelrooy. Saw that, my head fucking exploded. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to walk up to that guy and be like, I'm a Leicester fan, but then he probably would have spit on me and kicked me or something like that. Saw a guy wearing a Dylan Larkin sweater. The Red Wings captain gave that guy a fist bump. I was like, hell yes, dude. I was like, this is the best jersey I've seen all night. And he was like, hell yeah. And we fist bumped. It was sick. I was drunk. It was, there's so much I could say, man. I just, it really was just so like, it was such a happy place for me. I haven't felt that way being in a stadium or an arena. I mean, I've seen some cool shit, man. I really think in my life I've gotten to see some cool teams and some cool players in person. But I haven't felt like this since the first time I went to a college football game, which was really like my first major sporting event ever. Michigan State, Penn State, 2007, last game of the year. It was senior day. And we were 6-5, and the win gave us, it was 7-5. We ended up losing in the Champ Sports Bowl to Matt Ryan. But yeah, Joe Paterno was on the sideline, and it was my first time ever being somewhere that, you know, had a 75,000 seat capacity. And I mean, 2007, I was 9 years old, so it just blew my mind. And the spectacle of it just really blew my mind. And this gave me that same feeling of, I just can't believe how... And honestly, then there's also the piece of you that's like, I'm never going to get to experience the real thing. What, am I going to go to Old Trafford? No, they're knocking it down. They're building a new stadium. What, am I going to go to New Trafford? No, the tickets are going to be $500. No, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to have to go to fucking Wrexham or something. But even by the time I do that, the tickets are going to be $500. There's no way. Where am I supposed to go? Brentford? I don't know. Where am I supposed to get in? No idea. The Etihad? Hell no. I'm not getting in there. So I don't know. It's just, there's that dread of like, while it's happening, you try so hard to be present. Bruno Fernandes. There's a moment where he went to line up to take a free kick, and I was just like, Bruno, I just wanted him to top corner it so bad. I just wanted to see a Bruno Fernandes goal so bad, dude. But I got to see one from Hoyland. I got to see, who's that kid? Who's that young kid they got? Aiden Heaven? Is that what it is? Is that his first name? Aiden? Heaven is his last name. Yeah, I got to see him. They did like a 9-player sub near the end of the game, which was fun. You're allowed to do that in preseason. Yeah, I got to see him a little bit. It's fun. It's one of the best nights of my life. For real. Even though like weather was terrible and I technically missed a good chunk of the game because I couldn't sit in my seat because it was so wet and so cold. Soldier Field also just like flooded, which wasn't fun to sit in. Alrighty, folks. If you're watching this on Apple Podcast, that's not how that goes. Spotify. Listen, I've asked you a million questions in this episode. Do I have to ask you one? Spotify, I will ask you this. What's the next jersey that you want to buy? Who's the player, any sport, any league, that you're like, I think that's the one that I want next? This is a good one for you guys. If you listen to this on Apple Podcasts, what's up? So, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.
Beautiful.